Hi, I'm Renee Smith.
And I'm Tammy Fellers, and we're math consultants at ESDAC in Hutchinson, Kansas.
Today we're here to tell you about a couple of new decks that we have, and they are both measurement decks, and they only really differ a little bit because they are by grade bands. The first one is K3, and the second one is 4-5.
And with the K3, we've done both standard and non-standard measurement, and with the deck for 4-5, we've allowed for you to go clear to the 1/8 of an inch, depending on what your standard calls for. So let's just dive in, Renee, and take a look.
So on both decks of cards, we have this particular card as our first one. And so you'll notice that on some of our cards, we have both two objects or then a geometric shape, and so we kind of vary the task. But one of the things that's cool about having two different objects on the task card, and you'll notice if you're familiar with our other cards, this is a little bit larger card. The nice thing here is that you can have a lot of different variety with the tasks. We can ask kids to measure only the first object or the second object, and we can one time focus on length and one time focus on height or width, depending on what it is.
So as you'll notice, if the directions were to measure both the objects on this and doing both length and width, if I'm at the grade band where we're using non-standard measurement, I might use the Unifix cubes. And the way Renee and I use the Unifix cubes is we don't use this in protrusion here. We just use the cube themselves and are able to link them together. And
so that one's kind of tricky there, Tammy, because you're not quite to that end measurement or that end mark that we put this on. So a child might need to actually attach the 11th cube here and see that if we're measuring to the nearest Unifix cube, we're not quite halfway. It's close, but it's not quite halfway.
So I would say this is 10 Unifix cubes long, and we've added some index or some lines on here to help students know where we're talking about the height and width, because we noticed with some of our objects, not sure where that might be. And so this is, again, I'm going to say this is 3 Unifix cubes high.
So if we were looking at the lizard, obviously to keep it consistent so that our answer key matched what the students were actually measuring. That's why we have this here as opposed to the entire height from the foot to the tail. It could have been that, but we just chose from the foot to the top of the head.
And so you certainly can use, when you're into standard measurement, we've also on our answer key provided for you the answer to the nearest 1/8 of an inch. And we've done that because at the older grades, that's where they're to go to. If you're at a younger grade and are supposed to go to the nearest inch, it'll be easy for you, the teacher, to be able to round down. We also have given you the centimeter measurements for all of our objects, just to save you some time and know what those are. So we've given you some pictures where there might be two objects on there. We've also, in both decks, we've also given some geometric shapes. However, in the 4th and 5th grade deck, we have taken that as well to area and perimeter, and on this one we gave a missing side that they can actually
two missing sides on that one, right, on this one
that you can calculate and figure. On the younger one, we have not put any numbers on here and just allow you to use your Unifix cubes or your inches or centimeters, whatever's appropriate at your grade level, and we've not asked about area and perimeter.
We did on one of the extensions at 3rd grade where we know perimeter actually comes into our standards, that we've made that an option as an extension for children to then be able to talk about and find the perimeter measures.
And so then on the reverse side of each of these cards, we've also given you a word. I'm not going to always say a word problem because sometimes it's a task.
Right.
I've picked a couple here. This happens to be from the 4th and 5th grade deck because you also have conversion. So here we're converting grams to milligrams in this story problem. On this one for the K3 deck, it's simply Paul's kite is 30 centimeters wide, Phil's kite's 42 centimeters wide. How much wider is Phil's kite? And so it's just this one happens to be a story problem involving measurement.
Right.
The other thing that are sometimes on the back of the card is it might be a task, go measure the teacher's desk, the length of the teacher's desk, or the doorway, or we've given different scenarios that you might choose to use in your classroom.
We also know that within your standards, there is also the concept of knowing which unit of measure is more appropriate in given situations, and so we've also addressed that on some of the backs of the cards.
Absolutely.
So as you can see, with this set of cards, with both of these sets of cards, there are many, many, many uses that you can get from them depending on what task you want to assign on that particular occasion. Remember that we always also include with our decks a task card. It gives you a lot of these ideas as well as accountability ideas, and as Tammy's already mentioned, the answer keys given in a variety of different measurements.
And we do the answer keys not because teachers don't know the answers or can't measure for themselves. We really want this to be an easy, ready-to-use piece, so the answers are on there for you to be able to use them how you want.
Right.
Also, for sometimes you to be able to choose the type of cards that you're looking for.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.